We're back for our afternoon meeting. Chairwoman King could not be with us this afternoon, even though we don't have many items left in the agenda. These were the basic controversial items that we have that the Commission pulled earlier in the day for discussion. I am not going to take any of the items that we would need the full 5 members of the Commission for. We will wait on those for the next available Commission meeting in July. There's a couple of items maybe that we might be able to do, I don't know, but there's a lot of questions on them. We could leave them also for the following meeting. That's RE9 and RE10. I don't know if these were yours, Commissioner Rosado?
They are.
I don't know if, I mean, you put them down. You're the one that asked to take them out. If you want to leave them out, then...
No, we can leave these in.
Okay. So these are the only 2 that I see that are not controversial, whereas you are not going to need a full commission to deal with it. Out of respect to the chair, my item and discussion item regarding DDA, I will leave for next week also. Even though, to be blunt, I wasn't intending for a lot of discussion on this at all. Just an up or down vote, not getting in, if the DDA has done wonderful work or not, or partial. Just having a vote, not of voters, but of property owners, the ones that should be voting. One on the residential side and one on the commercial side, because they're each different. And for them to have a vote, if they want to keep paying to the DDA or not. I personally feel that the DDA is something that if the city of Miami wants to keep, it can by bringing dollars directly from the city's funds. After all, downtown Miami and Brickell is for the whole city, not just for them. So they shouldn't have to be left paying the full amount for the whole city. And that's the way that it should be, but that's all that I wanted to do. But I won't bring this up until we have a full commission so that 5 of us can go ahead and deal with it. I don't see anything else that was pulled unless that we should deal with it with 5, but obviously that's my position. So if we could deal with item R9 then, Commissioner Rosado?
Sure. Chair.
Sir.
You couldn't see me.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Usually the chair will let us vote on the amount of things we'd like to hear in the moment. There's some other things I'd like to hear. I don't know if the other commissioners have certain items that they would like to have voted today.
Well, what additional items did you pull out?
In my case, I definitely would like PC2 just to have voted.
Okay, well, that's not too controversial. I think, did you pull that out or?
No, we can go ahead and just vote on it, though.
Okay, that's HEP decision appeal. That one it's probably not that much of a controversial one. That we might not need the 5 votes. I think that's one that maybe we might all be.
I mean, I would be willing to hear everything.
Well, I don't think so.
Well, can we have the other commissioners weigh in?
Well, I'm going to tell you why I take that position, because there are items here that obviously are going to end up being a 3-2 one way or another. And Commissioner and Chairwoman King deserves the respect for her to be here for those items.
Well, normally she would put it up to the vote of the body of what we would like to hear.
No, it's not normal. She had an emergency that she had to deal with, and she deserves to be here when we handle items that are critical. So,
What are we talking about? Because I just got here to the
well,
park.
Commissioner King,
I know
is
that.
not being
She's not
able to
here.
join us. We have a series of items that it's been my position that those that are going to be controversial, that will probably end up in 3-2 in one way or another, that we should give her the courtesy of dealing with them when she's here.
I'm not in agreement with it.
I didn't think you would be.
Right. But let's take a vote on it and see who wants to hear the items and who doesn't want to hear the items.
What, you want to go item by item, or how do you want to do it, gentlemen?
No, you-
It's fine. Commissioner Rosado said he wanted to take up RE9 and RE10. Those were his items that he's the one that decided to take them out originally. So I don't see that there was a controversy in those. PC2 is one that I don't see as controversial at all. The Commissioner Pardo talked about the rest of it for the most part. I think will be items that will be requiring a 3-2 vote, and that's why I'm taking the position that they should be left when we have a full commission.
I think the issue is whether we're okay listening now to the controversial items. I'm okay doing that. Commissioner Grabella's okay doing that. I don't know about Commissioner Rosado. And
Well, it's
obviously,
obvious that you're going to be okay doing that because you two guys are tied from the hip, and what one votes, the other's going to vote. So there are some items here that if they end up 2-2 and not 3-1, then you win.
Well,
And that's
Commissioner,
why
but
you
That's
want
how
to
it
win.
works.
it is what it is. I mean,
Right.
It is what it is. I mean,
No, it's not what it is, because if you want to give the chairwoman the courtesy, like we've always have done here, if someone cannot be here in critical items for her to be here, then we bring it in for the next meeting.
No,
You
no,
guys are
I-
trying
I-
to push something
so let
to
me
get it through now.
lots of things have been.
let me give you my reasoning for doing, for example, SR3. Okay, in SR3, I need to know what exactly that we're doing. So then, I think the employees deserve an answer because they're in limbo. Okay.
Listen, the
And so-
employees there are not in limbo. The employees there know that whatever decision this commission takes, they would have in jobs that are left for them. So that's no one's in limbo. Let's not play games. No one's in limbo.
If you don't want to play games, then you should say what this is about. This is about you're upset that I took over Bayfront
No,
Trust,
sir.
and this is what's being
This
done.
is
So
about
if
that you
wanna talk
were
the
put
truth,
in
talk the
there
truth.
to weaponize fully Bayfront Park to create lies, defamation on me. And I'm going to tell you here once more, if you have any evidence that I committed any wrongdoing, committed any crimes, took a penny, bring it up now, and I'll be the first one to make the motion that we bring it, and I'll take you by the hand till we can bring it to the FBI, any other agency that you would like. Otherwise, stop your games.
Gonna let me talk?
Go ahead and talk.
Okay, number one, deviation of funds, there were that. Because I got a picture of you assembling bags for District 3 under
Listen,
Bayfront Trust,
this
and I
is a
still
joke.
got there.
This
And
is a joke.
Are you
Is
going to
this
let me
what you're
talk?
coming with?
Or are you going to do the whole talk?
There's no deviation of any funds there.
Let me finish.
Come with something solid. Come on.
That is
This
solid.
a-
That's a
this is
picture.
not solid.
That is a picture of
You know what's solid? Are the pictures that were shown of your house with up to five illegal speedboats parked next to it?
illegal speedboats.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Your
number
other
one,
property of 11 to 12 cars in a residential lot with
Listen,
all kinds of other stuff.
got you. You're trying to
that
muddy
were
the
illegal.
waters. I know what
And-
you're trying to
and
do.
You,
Gentlemen,
you're
up
trying.
to this date,
Gentlemen.
have not gotten anyone from code 2.5 months later to go
If you
there
want
and
to
see
talk
it.
about code, let's talk about your house and how you covered up your 8 violations that you have.
Listen,
Gentlemen.
there's no
Gentlemen.
cover up
So you
there.
wanna
The
talk about
record is
that?
clear, so don't talk crap.
No, you're talking crap.
No.
Okay, you're talking crap.
Gentlemen,
Okay?
gentlemen.
See, I came here to
I
do this
will-
peacefully.
Folks.
You know, and he takes it out of
You
hand.
two guys,
Gentlemen,
the game that you play is going to stop with me here.
Oh, I'm scared of
Well,
you.
lower the voice.
I'm scared of you. What are you going to do to me?
okay. Gentlemen,
I'm not going to do
gonna
anything
do
to
anything
you,
to
sir,
me,
but if
friend?
you get up again
No, I'm not
and threaten
getting
me,
up. I'm
like you tried to do
I'm
before,
you're
I'm not
making
going to,
accusations,
I'm not
I'm
going to
telling
melt
you.
down on you.
Oh, boy, you know how to muddy the waters, huh? You know how to really muddy the waters.
Yeah, no.
You're trying to get away
If you,
from...
if
Look,
you
let's
want
take the vote. Let's take the vote.
if you want to really be transparent, then show what your arrest record is for. Show it.
Well, the only arrest
That's
record,
sealed.
talking about arrest
Yeah.
record, the only arrest record
You
that
have
I
a
have here
sealed arrest
is
record,
this is
sir.
his only
Yeah.
arrest record.
You
He's
have
the
a
only person
sealed
that's been
arrest
arrested
record.
here. If you want to talk about arrest records,
What happened to me 20 plus years ago, what happened to me 24 years ago,
this is his arrest
Yeah.
record. This is the only guy that has an arrest
And I
record.
was
Since he
innocent,
wants to
I
talk
didn't
about arrest
commit,
record. Okay? Since he
or
wants to talk about
nor was
arrest
I
record.
convicted of anything.
This is what you like,
But
man. This is what you
The
like.
residents of Miami have known him that for 20 plus years.
gentlemen, I'd like
But
to make a
yours, sir,
motion.
is sealed.
I would like to,
What do you have
second that.
sealed?
Sir,
my
I don't know what
motion
you're
would
talking
be-
about. You know, I don't know what you're
Commissioner
talking about.
Guevara.
But what is
You
clear?
don't know what I'm talking
What is
about?
clear?
Commissioner.
What is
You
clear
have a
that you,
sealed
sir,
police record.
you, sir, have been the one arrested here. That's you.
Commissioner.
Is that not you?
Commissioner Gabella.
Listen,
Commissioner
You wanna talk about
Gabella.
arrest?
I
Talk
was
about
not
arrest.
convicted of
Then-
anything, sir.
Oh, then what's
Make
this?
a motion.
Here, what's this? Is that
I-
you or not?
I
The
would-
guy
Is
that
this
won,
for you or
I would
you?
like
the guy
to
that was
move-
convicted was the crooked police chief
I
and
would-
city manager that we had that pushed for me to be arrested then.
The problem,
And was not convicted.
I would like to make a motion to hear the following items and exclusively the following items. Upon further reflection, I realize there are some items sponsored by the chairwoman that I actually asked to pull because I wanted to discuss them because I do have questions. So out of fairness for her, I'm going to make a motion that we not discuss those items and perhaps several other that are just not time sensitive. So I would like to move that we hear exclusively RE9, RE10, DI1 if the board is here. I'm not sure they're not here, so that also can be moved. DI6 and PZ2. I have questions on each of the other ones, and I can support a motion that would allow the chairwoman to be present when.
I'll second that.
I want us to
There's a
agree.
motion, there's a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay.
No.
Passes 3-1.
So we'll focus just on
Now
those.
in RE9.
Yeah, our RE9 is very short, so it's something that I added on, and I have some additional good news. So the title is not the most exciting title ever, but a joint use agreement is essentially an agreement that MDCPS, Miami-Dade County Public Schools, has with different cities to allow residents access to school fields after school hours, typically from about 5 to 9 p.m., and on weekends, often from 8 a.m. to about 10 p.m. at night. And so in a past professional life, I negotiated one of these. It takes a few months, but suddenly your residents have access to ball fields, football, soccer, basketball, playground equipment, et cetera, that they might not otherwise have access to. And I know that as a district and as a city, our recreational opportunities are very limited in many neighborhoods. And so what I wanted to do when I began my role here as commissioner is to inquire which of the schools in District 4, we have 7 schools that are located within District 4, and then we also have 2 schools that are located outside, one in Coral Gables, one in West Miami, but that serve large numbers of children in District 4. And so I reached out to the school board and I said, could I have copies of the joint use agreements for those schools? And out of the 9 schools I just referenced, only 1 has a joint use agreement, which means the neighborhoods surrounding the other 8 don't have access to basketball, softball, you name it. And so what I was bringing forth originally as an item is to go ahead and work with the manager, work with our attorney to negotiate one joint use agreement per school. What has happened since we put this item on the agenda is I have some additional good news. I think that was good enough news by itself. But what the school board has realized, it's going to be so labor intensive to negotiate with me or any of us on each of these individually that they are offering to do a master joint use agreement for the entire city of Miami, applying to all public schools citywide. And so residents in dozens of neighborhoods should now be able to have access to these recreational facilities. And given that we are park poor, in many places, I think this is a big step forward in providing our residents the quality recreational amenities that they very much deserve. So I'm very excited about that.
That's a very positive resolution. Up to now, the few contracts that we have with the school board is the opposite. We're letting the school board use some of our playgrounds and facilities instead. So this will just expand on that, but open it up much bigger, because many of the schools we have in our city, or maybe in the surrounding areas, like you mentioned, have big parcels of land that could be used. Some of them have a baseball field, soccer field that our residents could use. So I would be very much in favor of that. Do you have a motion for that?
Absolutely. I would move to have the administration and all interested parties work with MDCPS to bring forth a master joint use agreement ultimately for our vote a few months down the line. And I would just say each of you knows your districts better than I do, and than each other may. And so obviously you'll each be chiming in on the specific schools that are in your districts in terms of what are the right hours given the immediate neighbors, what are the right kinds of amenities. I mean, this isn't something that comes with no cost. We are likely to be asked to pay for two things. One would be interior fencing. That is very important to them, because they want to make sure that if somebody can go onto a basketball court at 6 p.m., that they somehow don't also have access to go inside the building, classrooms and bathrooms and all of that. And certainly, I think we're all in agreement, we don't want that either.
No,
so we may be asked to cover that.
That's reasonable.
Yeah. And perhaps lighting in schools that don't have lighting at night.
There's some motions. There's a second by Commissioner Pardo.
And Chair, my apologies, it'll be as amended because it's now citywide.
Yeah, as amended.
Citywide.
Seconder, as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It passes. Okay. RE10.
RE10 is something that I talked about as well on the campaign trail, which is, we all know that Miami's a very expensive place to live. You know, South Florida, Miami-Dade, City of Miami, it's all very expensive. And one of the things that we have most direct control over is the land that is owned by the city. And I know that the school board, the county, large cities, we often sit on land that's very valuable, would be very valuable to the public, except it's not being developed. And so part of this, me putting forth this item is because I said on the campaign trail, but I also want to revise it a little bit. My request to the administration was to come forth with a list of every city parcel and with recommendations for which ones could be mixed income housing particularly. And I thought of mixed income housing because if ultimately what I'd like to see done is an RFP that puts them out to the development community, both for-profits and nonprofit builders, to build housing that includes a range of incomes. And the reason for that is for it to actually be competitive and desirable for private companies and nonprofits to bid on, is you would want to make it so that they can make money off some market rate units as part of the projects, and then the other units be subsidized. I wanted to modify my own motion because upon further consideration, we may have parcels in neighborhoods where the zoning is exclusively single family. And so obviously you can't have mixed income in a single family home.
Or duplex.
Or a duplex. So the idea would be if by the next meeting we could have, or rather within 60 days, if we could have a full report of all city-owned parcels that could be developed for housing of some sort and recommendations of how to move forward, and a priority order also for moving forward. It could be one RFP that puts out every single city parcel, or it could be going neighborhood by neighborhood or some variation thereof. And I know that there may be parcels where we actually have other things we want to do with them, whether it's a standalone fire station or something else, but I want to move forward. If we're sitting on land where we can be providing it to get people into quality, affordable housing, I just can't think of any good reasons to not make it available.
Very good. There's a motion.
And I absolutely, there's a motion, but I think also our CFO may want to speak to the item.
Larry, you still around?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Thank you through the Vice Chair. Commissioner, we do have I would call it a perpetual list of those properties. We make them available to the public currently, typically through housing community development. So we have had in the past where developers will come to us and say, we like this parcel, and we've done transactions that way. I just want you to have that information available associated with your directive. But
Okay.
we will follow. But I just want to put that on record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a motion, the second. Commissioner Pardo, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimously. All right, next one, do we have any, on DI1, any reports from boards and committees, Mr. Clerk?
Which item are you going on to next, Commissioner?
DI1, annual
DI1,
reports,
the
boards and committees.
chair is not here, so we can just skip that item.
Okay, so there's none. Go to the next. I think you said DI6?
DI6.
Okay, DI6, redevelopment of the Miami Police Department headquarters.
Yeah,
Do you want anybody from the police department to address this, or do you just want to deal with it? It's up to you.
I think we have our CFO and our assistant city manager here to answer questions, but the idea is the Miami Police Department is sitting on very valuable downtown land.
Yes.
The building is not in great shape. I had the opportunity to tour it. I know that it's got infrastructure issues. I know that it has, more concerningly, when I say infrastructure issues, I know they've had like sewer backups and things along those lines. So those are things that can definitely be resolved. But I know, we've got the chief here as well. I know that we also have, which is more concerning to me, we have issues with the parking garage, and there we're talking about structural issues.
Yep.
That is very expensive to resolve. That's very concerning. And more recently, I know we had a sinkhole in the parking lot, which, I mean, we're starting to get to the point where the building is, I'm not going to say it's in an imminent danger of any sort of collapse. I don't want to make that seem like that's the case. But the situation seems to be getting worse, but we don't have a clear directive yet. There's no clear direction from the commission in conjunction with the administration to do something with that land. I think we need to dispose of it. We obviously need to make sure our police officers are safe. We need to move in the direction of disposing of it. We need to identify a site at which the Miami Police Headquarters could be constructed. And given that all of that is a process that's going to take some time, I'd like to see us start now by identifying a location. You know, if we have like a range of locations, I think we need to bring those to the table soon and have your expert recommendations as to where it may make sense for a variety of access reasons, space reasons, et cetera. But we've got to move forward on this already.
Absolutely correct in this, and I've been telling the manager that. I've had conversations with the police chief. Let me explain to you some of the issues that we got to sort our ways. The manager would like to have a police and fire administration building built together. Coming from the law enforcement side of the world, I have a lot of doubts on that. You know, that might work fine in smaller cities that don't have a large police department or a large fire department. But in a city that we just approved a couple of meetings ago to go to 1,700 or more police officers in the next 3 years, that we're going to have some over 800 firefighters. It's not the best solution in mixing both forces together and all that goes involved with each separate department and their needs and emergencies and so on. That's one. Secondly, which I think you hit the nail on the head, we have to identify which is the best and most centrally located area. Our city, while comparing it to other cities, is not that big in landmass. It's very stretched out. And the location where it's been now, it's been pretty centrally located. So we need to find something, maybe not right there, but that is still centrally located. One that has been mentioned, and we had always looked at that, was the new site on the Freedom Park. My concern with that site is the following. One is too far away from the rest of the city. Two, once we have soccer games that, you know, stadiums are full, once we have the mall, the hotels, office buildings that are operating down the road, this could become, you know, troublesome in getting police services in and out of that building. Likewise, fire. So that's why I'm not so keen in that area, even though I don't think we should cross anything out. We should look at everything. We have, at least that I know of, maybe there are more, I don't know, a couple of other areas that might be more feasible, more centrally located than that over there. But I think what we need to do is what you're suggesting, that we start looking at all the sites and looking at the plus and cons of each site and moving forward. Commissioner Pardo, do you have anything to say on that?
No, I think it's good.
Okay. Chief, would you like to add anything since you're here?
So good afternoon, Manny Morales, Chief of Police, 400 Northwest 2nd Avenue, Commission. I appreciate you bringing up this discussion item. It's something that's been obviously near and dear to my heart, not only to myself, but to Fire Chief Hevia, as he is experiencing some infrastructure challenges himself. We have been working with the administration for quite a while, doing the studies to see what space is needed, what type of facility would best serve the citizens of Miami. And one of those exercises was to try to figure out where do we put it. As Vice Chair Carollo said, the city is at a premium when it comes to land space. So it's been one of the decisions that we made yesterday. We had a meeting just kind of discussing the options and some of the proposals that the company had put forward on the sites. But we can overcome whatever challenges might happen. I know that the police department, the fire department didn't have the best of relationships in the past. We've kind of transcended that and we have a very good working relationships. So if it's something that it can be more efficient, more cost effective to move us together, we're definitely on board with anything that can be, what makes the city dollars go further. Mm-hmm. So we're definitely looking forward to being able to put.
Do you have any idea, Chief? And I know that the figures could be very high or very low, whatever you give us. It's a guess. But based upon what numbers that you've all been looking at, you have any idea how much it might cost to build you guys a new building?
Sir, I would refer that to our CFO. I have no idea about the money.
Larry's got,
I spend it, I don't make it.
in one pocket the cost, and in the other he's got the money, right?
I'm going to throw a
number. No, don't throw a number out because we have a size of the building, but we haven't priced it yet.
Yeah, I was through the vice chair.
What's the size of the building?
Through the vice chair, Larry Springs, Chief Financial Officer. So the city has been doing a significant amount of analysis on public safety relocation. To your point, we are cleanly aware of the garage issue. In fact, we've already put money to demolish the garage and do a surface parking there. The plan that we've kind of been skeleton structuring around with regards to the sale of those is to sell them, use proceeds to then reinvest into new facilities.
How much are you figuring, Larry, that we could get estimate on the land if we sell it?
I don't want to be so secure, but probably the sale of the two locations, somewhere $40-50 million at the end of the day.
The two locations.
The fire administration building and the police headquarters
the police
downtown.
Would be how much?
I'd have to do some more. You and I,
But
I like to put
40,
real, yes.
But it's 40 to 50,
right? Spitballing.
Yeah, but it's 40 to 50.
40-50 million probably. But
I think you can get more than that, Larry.
Yeah. Well, we may get more. But again, the plan was almost like a P3 structure, so we will sell and then reinvest into the building. We do have a presentation that we could probably share with the commissioners individually that shows all the analysis that we've done.
That would be good if you could do that.
For purposes of just an update, so we literally had a meeting yesterday between fire, police, internally to review the various sites. Conversation you and I had not that long ago to do the analysis, because we've already done the analysis in terms of the variables for 3 different sites, 3 different potential locations. They've done a programming analysis for each. We've done pros and cons for each. So we have a follow-up meeting that we're going to do subsequent to yesterday's meeting. And then the idea was to come back, brief each of you individually, and make some recommendations.
And last but not least, once you do that, you should come back and let the commission know what is the condition of both substations, how much more dollars might we have to put in bringing them up to date, and how many fire stations need the same.
We have all of that analysis.
And or how many additional fire stations do we need with the growth that we're having?
Yes.
So that is so important because, I see that we're spending here a lot of money in many different ways, like if we had it to, spend, and I'm just seeing that we don't. We have a tremendous amount of monies that we have to spend, and just police and fire alone without going anywhere. So any further questions that you might have?
Mr. Manager, so we only have one more meeting in July, and then we don't reconvene again until essentially 8 weeks from now. Could we have a recommendation, like a priority order of sites at that first September meeting? Because my concern is, and I have the image that I have on the screen so that folks understand, that's the sinkhole from just a couple of weeks ago in the parking lot, right? And the reality is, if we said we're going to craft an RFP and we've got a site in mind, et cetera, we're talking about probably 4 years before there's a new police department with a CEO, right? We've got procurement was probably going to take 9 months or so, then design, then permitting, then construction. I mean, we're 4 years away, and there's a sinkhole now.
Well, your argument is very valid. If I may suggest, with the upcoming budget coming in the first readings, the manager might need a little extra time to get by the budget before he could put this together. So what would be the first meeting after we're done with the budget, Mr. Manager?
October 9th.
Would that be sufficient for you to give him the time so we get through the budget? Okay.
But in the interim, ahead of that, we'll come meet with each of you individually ahead of that, so that when we're presenting on October 9th, you've already been briefed and you've given us feedback, and so that we can incorporate that into whatever presentation we make.
Okay.
Okay, and I'd like to get feedback also when you come to us from both chiefs, police and fire.
Yeah.
On both ideas, whether they're inclined to have one location together or separate locations, and their preference 1, 2, and 3, or whatever the amount of locations we might have for all of them, that would be their preference where to go. Is that okay, Commissioner? Yeah. Okay, so there's a motion, there's a second by Commissioner Pardo.
It's just a discussion item.
Yeah, well, I thought he wanted to bring it back by October 9th, so.
Oh, I think that was more just a direction for the manager to come back with the information being requested from Commissioner Rosado at the October 9th meeting.
Yeah, we'll accept the directive.
Okay, that's fine, so we don't need to make the motion.
Put it on the record.
Is that a resolution, just for my own clarification, does that come accompanied with a resolution that prioritizes the potential sites, and we take a vote
If you
at that
want,
point?
you can make a resolution.
Could certainly be part of it. I'll let that be dependent on how those individual briefings go, whether we really have the votes there to agree on one particular location, or it needs to be done further. But if we feel like we've narrowed down to one location and one concept, whether it's a joint public safety building or independent structures, we'll present both.
Okay. All right, and we're down to the last item, PZ2, the HEP Board decision appeal. This is a resolution of the Miami City Commission granting or denying the appeal filed by Burko, Adele, Fernandez, Larkin, and Tapidas on behalf of the property owner.
Mr. Vice Chair, this is an appeal, so it's a quasi-judicial hearing. If the team is ready, they could, I think Carly's there, yeah. And in the interim, could I just read the shade meeting notice?
Yeah, this is District 2, correct, Commissioner Pardo?
District 2.
District 2, okay, that's fine. Mr. City
Yes.
Attorney, have we had everybody sworn in that wants to speak?
I believe we did that in the beginning of the meeting.
Okay.
If there are people that are here that weren't here in the beginning, we can do that again. The clerk can do that again to ensure that everybody is sworn in.
Sure. Besides the lady that I see here that I'm assuming is going to represent the appellant, is there anybody else from the public that's here on this item? Okay. There's none. So can we hear from you?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Carly Koschel with Burkow, offices at 200 South Biscayne Boulevard. I wanted to let you know that I do have a full presentation that I'm prepared to give you, but where I would like to start is by emphasizing that the instant property is a non-contributing property within the Morningside Historic District.
When you say non-contributing,
Yes, sir.
can you clarify that?
Absolutely. So the property is located at 5935 Northeast 6th Court. It's on the east side, and it is located within the Morningside Historic District. So it is included within the Historic District. But what is really important to understand is that it is non-contributing, which means that it does not add to the historic architectural qualities of the district, because in this case, because it was not present during the period of significance for the district. The Morningside District era of significance is 1922 to 1941. This particular property was built in 1946. So while it is within the historic district, it is not in and of itself it does not have historical value. And so when you are considering what can be done on such a property, the standard is inevitably lower than what it must be for contributing properties. And that's acknowledged in the Morningside District Designation Report. And so what's before you today is a two-story addition at the front of the home. And what's important to understand is that this two-story addition complies with zoning regulations. It went before the HEP Board and the Historic Preservation Department because it is in the historic district, but the standards for review are general compatibility with the district and not the historic value of the home itself. And so when you're evaluating what is compatible with the historic district, it's important to understand that the Morningside Historic District does contemplate two-story volumes, specifically in the district regulations for a variety of architectural styles. In fact, just two houses to the left of this property are two-story houses, and the two houses to the right are two-story houses. When you put it in context, you can see that the volume is compatible with its street face. And so when you're evaluating compatibility, you do so based on Chapter 23, which are the Historic Preservation Regulations, and on Standard 9 of the Secretary of Interior Standards, which determines compatibility is size, scale, color, material, and character of the neighborhood. And here we believe that all of those standards are satisfied. The proposed home complies with zoning regulations, and what's important to understand about this particular location of the two-story volume is that it was not accidentally placed at the front of the home. There is a specimen-sized live oak on the neighbor's property whose root system extends into the rear yard of our property. And if we put the two-story volume in the rear of the home, it would impact the root zone of that specimen-sized live oak tree. You can see that the existing pool for this home is on the south side of the property for exactly that reason. And so with that in mind, we respectfully request upholding of our appeal and overturning of the Historic Preservation Board's denial, and specifically on the premise that this home is non-contributing, which is misstated and confused throughout the record up to this point. We would clarify and point out that there is no Morningside-specific dominant setback. So while this addition is proposed to be at the front setback, at the 20-foot setback, that is compatible with zoning's requirements for single-family residences. And there is nothing in the Morningside Historic District that says that it must be placed further back. And with that, we respectfully request your approval.
Thank you. Any questions from the members of the commission? Okay. Is there any statements that any commissioner has to make as far as, since this is a quasi-judicial,
I have a question.
having met with anyone?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Are you advocating for the, I'm sorry, I'm on a phone call. Are you advocating for the people that own the house?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so the HEP board came back, but what you're saying is that it's not, the house wasn't part of the historic scene, if you will, because I missed some of the...
The home is part of the historic district, and that is without question. However, this home is non-contributing, which means that it doesn't add to the value or the character. The home that exists there today does not have historic value. And it's on record that this is non-contributing. So the standards of what can be built on this property are different. This home can be demolished. The instant owners are a family. They've lived there since 2019. They have 2 kids. They have a third on their way. They're looking to expand the home so that they can continue to use it. This is not a spec home. This is not a modern construction in a historic district. It's respectful, and it's to accommodate a family of residents in this district.
Thank you.
Yeah, I fully support granting the appeal. I mean, this family has done everything possible to stay, and I think...
Second.
Aye, and I also have a motion.
As amended. As amended.
As amended.
Can we make a clarification? So the motion was to grant the appeal.
That's what it said. It was to grant the appeal.
And is that with the recommended staff conditions? Because remember, the posture of this is that there was a recommendation of approval with conditions from the city staff. It went to HEP. HEP did a straight denial. And so any approval...
Could you go through the staff recommendations?
Yeah, I think staff is prepared to go through their analysis and recommendations so that way it's clear what the conditions are.
Yes. Yes. Savannah.
Savannah Steiner, Assistant Director of Planning. So there was originally a staff recommendation of denial. The HEP board deferred the item and said that the addition did not need to necessarily be subordinate to the main structure, which would have pushed it to the back. Staff then made a recommendation of approval with conditions. 3 of those conditions included the roof line and the eave line that you see in the picture before you. So the applicant has already incorporated that condition into their drawings. The second one was to mimic the openings, windows and doors that's found in the historic district. They've also complied with that. That's what you see in your rendering. The third one was to use either the dominant setback or the average setback of the block face, which would push the addition back from 20 feet to either 27 or 30 feet. And that's the one that the HEP board agreed with and thought that the addition should be pushed back.
And so the applicant is willing,
The applicant is not willing to push the structure back an additional 7 feet beyond what the zoning district requires for every other single-family home that is non-contributing.
You would have to tear the structure down to do that, correct? Basically?
No, sir. Because it is a addition, it is not affecting the existing structure. It is possible for the addition to be, it is theoretically possible for the addition to be 7 feet back. However, it would severely impact how the addition is placed, and it would require the enclosure of a courtyard that exists on the property. If you look at the site plan, you can see that there is theoretically room to shift it back, but that would greatly decrease its utility for the family.
I see.
So how many conditions were there?
Just,
were there 3?
Just the 3. That's correct.
There were several.
There were more.
Those were the 3 that were at issue.
The remaining conditions are our typical conditions that you would see on in any application. Those were the three that were pertinent to this application.
So the motion was to grant the appeal.
To grant the appeal.
With all the staff conditions in place, or with none of them? I'm trying to figure
I
out
didn't
which
hear that
ones
from
are
Commissioner
really in
Parton.
contention.
Your motion included the staff recommendations or not?
There's one apparently that they have not complied with, and so my motion included moving forward without compliance of that last recommendation.
So they're in compliance with 3 out of the 4.
We would request to strike condition 7 of the staff report.
Specifically that one, which has to do with the actual setback.
Correct.
Yes.
And be able to.
My apologies, Chair. Then you really need to reconsider this motion because I didn't capture it. To me, it was just granting the appeal. Had nothing to do with any conditions.
Okay.
So then you want to reconsider.
Or can it be clarified? What?
I would prefer, since this is quasi-judicial,
Okay.
So let's reconsider the motion.
is there a motion to reconsider?
Motion to reconsider.
And second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the motion is back to reconsideration now. Would you
So I
like to
make
make a motion with the exception then?
Right. So I make a motion to grant the appeal with the exception of striking condition number 7 as submitted in the staff report.
Okay. And you second still?
I will second that. I realize we did not give our Jennings disclosures on this
Well,
item.
I-
I just wanted to mention that I met with
Basically,
the
yes.
applicant.
Yeah, I did give Jennings.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passed unanimously.
And I have a motion as well.
As amended.
The,
Oh, when you're done.
okay.
When you're done.
Well, we're done. That's
No,
the
I mean, I
last-
have one motion because there were some items that I want to hear, and they were the controversial ones. I wanted to do it with cooler heads prevailing in the room.
We voted already that these were the items that we're going to be listing, so
Chair,
the meeting, yes.
it was my understanding that Commissioner Rosado's motion was for the items that he wanted to hear. Those are the items that he wanted to hear.
Well, this were the items that we voted to hear.
But there are still other items remaining on the agenda.
Okay.
The two items, and I'll explain why, Chair.
Okay.
A lot of people have come here many, many times. They're both very controversial items. I think we can make our statements, both everybody here on this dais, on these items and get past them. But personally, I would like to hear both of them are your items, not Commissioner King's items, Chairwoman King's items. Apologize. One is the discussion item on the DDA, and the other one is, I believe, SR3.
Both of these items are controversial items that require, in my opinion, the courtesy to have Commissioner King here. And they might be items that might be 3-2. I don't know. The people that have come for the DDA, for the most part, like was stated here by somebody, they're people that either are getting funding from the DDA or work in the DDA or have something to do with the DDA. And on the other one, it's the same people that you're sending up here all the time, sir, every meeting on this. So both of these items are truly items that we need a full commission to hear. And, you know, we've heard people, they don't have to come, you don't have to send people, send out tweets or anything to get more people here. We, you know, done the items that I thought there was a consensus on before to deal with, and we would leave the others for next meeting that we would have, and that's where I stand.
I'd like to make the motion to hear those two items.
Second.
I can support that.
Well, what's going to happen here, Commissioner Rosado, is that if we hear these items and it's a 2-2 vote without Commissioner King here, then they will fail. In one of them, you know, it might be a 3-1, even though, you know, I'm not taking a position to vote one way or another. I just think that people, if they're going to be taxed, deserve a right to put their position forward. But bottom line is, you're the third vote up here. If you want to go ahead and listen to both items and want to, that it's your motion that you made, and it was voted upon in first reading 3-2, that if it comes to a vote here, might end up being 2-2. Therefore, it will fail. If that's what you want to do, for it to fail, then so be it.
I think we may be able to arrive at an agreement on the item.
Okay, well, that's fine. So there's a motion, there's a second to hear these items, and all that are in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it passes 3-1, and let's begin by listening to, I think, the one that will be the quickest, which would be the DI-5. It's a discussion and presentation regarding the DDA. I don't intend to make this a horse and show punny, even though there have been individuals, I understanding, that have followed the process in our charter to ask to make presentations through the manager, and they've been ignored. I don't intend to bring them on board in this. All that I wanted to do out of this is not praise, not crucify the DDA and anything that they've done or haven't done. Just to give people the right that you would think in America everyone should have. If you're going to be paying taxes, in this case, they're paying an additional tax on their properties that benefits the whole city, but only one area of the city is paying for it, then they deserve to have a say-so if they want to keep paying it or not. And my sole proposal, to make it short and sweet, is in bringing forth a motion, if I may, where the question on paying to the DDA from residential units is put to a vote of property owners on residential units. And why do I say property owners and not voters? Because the property owners are the ones that are paying directly. And then have a separate one at the same time on commercial properties to see if they want to keep paying or not. And however way they decide, I respect it. I have no problem. I have no axe to grind in this. I just want people to be able to have a say-so if they're paying monies. This is the way that things are, at least that I remember in the America I grew up in, that we would do things. You don't pay if you don't decide and have representation. And that's the sole purpose of my bringing this up. I'll start with Commissioner Rosado, and we'll work our way down. And any statements?
Is there any additional information that we were going to be provided? I was under the impression there was also like a public presentation. Am I wrong in this?
Well, if you like to hear any 1% of public presentation, I have no problem in listening from a public presentation from the association or either one, Brickell or downtown, but it's up to you if you like to hear that or not.
I'm just not ready to vote on this item. I became the DDA chair just a couple of hours ago, and because I haven't been here very long at all. I actually haven't had a chance to meet with either the DDA or other interested stakeholders, not in a very meaningful way.
Would you like to bring this for the next meeting while you have that opportunity? And we should bring up the question that I put up here. I'm not I'm not taking one side or another and saying that this is good, this is bad. I just want the people that are paying to decide for themselves what they want to do.
Just as I understand it from a timing perspective, they need to have their budget approved just like the city does in a relatively short amount of time. I'm not sure that I can take a position on this yet, not an informed position. And even at the next meeting, that doesn't give me enough time to really study the issue. I'm going to be attending my first DDA board meeting. I attended some years back, but it's been many, many years. I don't think I can make a decision on this in the next,
So should we
2
defer?
weeks or so. I would defer it
Until
at
when?
a minimum to September, like the second September meeting, because I need to at least meet with them and review their budget. I don't have enough information at this point in time to make an informed decision. I think it would be not responsible of me to vote on this at this time.
So motion to defer?
Motion to defer to the second meeting in September at the soonest.
Yeah, there's a motion to defer, second meeting in December, but I hope that you're understanding that you're not taking any position. You're just letting people express themselves with money that they're paying that they've never have been asked on whether they want to pay it or not. That you, where you live at in Coral Gate, and all of us that live in separate parts benefit from that, but we don't have to pay it in our properties. They're paying it. That we're letting them decide if they want to keep paying it or not. That's all that we're doing. If for any reason they vote no, they don't want to pay it anymore, you have the option to come back to this commission and decide if you want the commission to put some money in the DDA or see how that would be funded to go forward, if that's what's needed to be done or not.
I'd just like more time to be able to do a deep dive on the issue. I understand the concept. I understand the concept of allowing them to vote. I just need to have a much greater familiarity with each of the programs that are in place, the initiatives, et cetera. I want to hear from interested stakeholders. I want to actually get out into the downtown community now, which now is something I'll be able to do in this new capacity, and actually hear folks out. And I just don't think doing that next week is sufficient time. So that would be my request, is to table the item until the second meeting in September, and then determine if there's a time frame, what the appropriate time frame for that would be.
I'll second it.
There's a motion, there's a second to defer it until the second meeting in September. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, it's tabled to the second meeting in September. Go ahead, Commissioner. Your item was also SR3.
Okay, I did prepare a presentation on this, and I worked with the administration, so I know that they're going to have a PowerPoint as well, but I prepared some remarks. So the Bayfront Trust is experiencing a period of stability, and that should be acknowledged. That progress is real, and this moment of stability is a credit to current leadership. But there will come a time when the current chair has to pass the gavel, and these moments of stability, Miami history has shown us time and again, are typically very short-lived. As I mentioned at the last meeting, I don't want to discuss people as part of this item at all. I want to discuss ideas, and that's going to be my focus. This proposal is not about any one commissioner or leader, and it's just a number of reform items that I'm going to be proposing or supporting in some form over the next several months. It's about ensuring that the park system doesn't rely on who holds the gavel. No single person, no matter how effective, should have to carry the full weight of an entire system's success or failure. The goal is not to take control away of anything from anybody, but rather to build a structure that protects the park from political turnover and prevents it from continuing to be used as a political football, which is the posture that it's essentially had for close to 40 years. I'm going to give you, I did this last time, I'll just do a quick recap of assorted challenges over time to indicate this isn't something that's happening now, but something that's happened for almost 40 years. In the 80s and 90s, the trust was created. It had tremendous promise, but it never had sufficient built-in checks and community representation as part of its structure. Board appointments over time began trending toward political loyalty rather than relevant experience or even being a downtown resident or business owner in many cases. Throughout the early 2000s, audits found that there were a number of no-bid contracts, outdated vendor deals, and inconsistent finances. and in many cases, community input was absolutely minimal. You even had at one point an executive director that was arrested for bribery. This is, again, under the current structure that's been in place for a number of decades. Infighting with city departments, stalled consistent maintenance and programming, so a lot of work had to be done to bring up the parks into quality form. And there were entire periods without executive leadership in place. So let's be honest, the trust pass historically has been politically volatile like a pendulum, swinging with the tides of elections and personalities. These aren't exaggerations on my part, rather these are on the record, and that's why part of why the public trust has eroded regarding the trust in a number of years and decades. We've patched over the damage, but we haven't restructured its actual foundation. So we can't afford to keep repeating the cycle, and the park is just too important to once again become the political football that it's consistently been throughout its history. So why is now the right time to even have this conversation? The trust, at least for the moment, is stable, and that's exactly why now is the right time to act deliberately and without urgency. Reform during stability is smart governance, and waiting for the next crisis, which is something the city has a history of doing, would be failure of leadership on our collective part up here. As we've seen time and again, whether it's the Olympia Theater, the Miami Police Headquarters, Marine Stadium, the Coconut Grove Playhouse, or a number of other items and city assets, the city has a long history of waiting until something can't possibly get worse before it decides to finally take action. And that's the wrong time in which to do things. So in this case, let's take action at a moment of relative calm in order to get this right. The park is perhaps more important than ever, increasingly surrounded by world-class institutions and serving as Miami's front yard, civic front yard. Every year that we delay, we risk continued short-term thinking, missed fundraising opportunities, missed programming opportunities, missed planning opportunities. And so, yes, the current chair has only had this position for a few months, but this reform is not a reflection of his leadership. Instead, it's about building on it and ensuring that what's being achieved now doesn't evaporate during the next election cycle. So this proposal is not in conflict with his work or his vision, but rather it's an extension of it. What I'm proposing is that we still maintain full public ownership of the park, but that we establish a structure that moves the agency further out of reach, out of the grasp of any one political leader. I'd like to see us involved to a greater extent downtown businesses and property owners. That's not consistently the case. We each can appoint folks from anywhere in the city, and that, as folks have reached out to me with emails saying that they'd like to see more downtown representation, we're actually not obliging by that mandate now. We've worked closely with the administration to research best practices from the National Recreation and Park Association and other industry leaders that operate in the field of governance and operations for large revenue-generating urban parks. We've dug deep into internationally recognized major parks in the country, major parks that are large urban parks, revenue-generating parks such as Central Park in New York City and large parks in Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Dallas, and even a local example of the Underline. As we saw from the NRPA article that I distributed at the last meeting, others across the country have actually looked at Bayfront and proposed that we take an alternative structure. So at the national level, this has caught attention. I want to make clear what this reform is not about. It's not about privatization. It's not a reflection on any individual, whether it's an elected person or somebody appointed to a position. I'm proposing forward-looking governance reform for one of our city's most important public assets. This is a chance for the current chair and the commission to be remembered not just for stabilizing the trust, but to actually be responsible for transforming it into something much more enduring, much more built to last, so that we can leave a legacy of leadership that future commissions can build on and not one that they have to rescue. Now is the best time to fix a system because we're in a period of calm, not when it's broken and have an emergency situation, but rather one where we've got a short amount of time to actually make an intelligent decision so that we don't regret it and we don't continue to kick the can down the road. Now, if we all agree that this park matters, or these two parks, and I'm sure that we do, we must agree that its care shouldn't depend on political cycles or personalities. And so right now we have the rare alignment of stability, of leadership, and of public focus, which is why I think the moment to act is now and to make this change before the end of this calendar year. Dissolving the trust and moving into an alternative structure. But in the short term, moving it under the auspices of the city manager's office. That's my full remarks. Yes, Commissioner.
Chair,
Go ahead.
would you be willing to consider an effective date of January 1st, which would give enough time to really kind of explore the different structures, work with the staff, work with the community, work with the transition?
I am happy to help make presentations to the community if we agree to a non-negotiable date of January 1st, and then move it under the manager's office. I'd like to move it under the manager's office effective today, if at all possible.
Well, that's why I've stated that this should be voted upon when we have a full commission. You've made a nice presentation. What I would suggest is that we table this until we have a full commission.
I think it's,
Can I
Sure,
interject
you
you?
can go ahead and speak, sir. If that's okay with you, Mr. Bardo, if you've been done already, or were you done, or I don't want to cut you off.
Oh, sir.
I'm done, thank you.
Are you done?
Yeah. I mean, I'll chime in later, but.
No, go ahead.
No, the only thing I was going to say is, if we need that amount of time, and I know you have a preference and a vision, but I think it's always important to bring the community along, and that's the part that with any kind of transition plan that's organized would probably take that amount of time anyway. So that's why I was proposing an effective date. You said calendar year, would match with the calendar year.
I mean, my preference was actually more immediate, but I understand that there are concerns about that. I was trying to hopefully tie it to the fiscal year, right? Because things move. I understand there's an appointment process, and the appointments typically are made at the end of the year.
Well,
But
really my focus was about the residents, because probably the piece you don't know as much because you weren't here on the dais at the time, but the downtown residents have been through an awful lot on this issue, trying to get kind of more input, more say in the things that are happening. I think that they feel like we're responding in the right direction. And so I'd like to be able to at least provide the time to share those ideas, share your vision, and kind of bring them along with us along the way.
let me say this. You keep saying the downtown residents. I've never seen here more than a dozen or so of your supporters in downtown that come. When we had a real election for the downtown residents to decide what they wanted, when you were putting out stuff in your Twitter and your Instagram that this is a referendum and Joe Carollo, if you vote against it, the outdoor gym equipment, it won citywide 80-20, basically the same numbers in your district. In the two precincts right across the park in Maurice Ferre, one won by the 80%, and the other was 65%. So this excused the downtown residents. I mean, not even in communist Russia, when the Bolsheviks took over, they had 2% there. You don't even have a 2% of these people there. And the silent majority is too busy working, trying to pay their mortgage, their rent, their lives, to come here week after week with the same thing. I'm going to tell you why you're right, that this has to be done before the next fiscal budget is taken. We have a dilemma of what to do, and of course the manager took the easy way out, just give it away, like everything else that they try to do in the city, on the Olympia Theater. And the amount that I'm told that it's about $40 million to take care of it. That's what the manager said publicly. Now, he was responsible for that since he was the executive director in off-street parking. And he's been responsible for the Olympia Theater since he's been manager here. Bayfront Park Trust, depended on the numbers that I have seen as of late that we left, could have as much as 20 million, but at least 15 million from what I'm seeing, but as much as 20 possibly, that is in reserves that could be spent for anything else. On top of that, it has no less than $5 million in a surplus every year. And that wasn't like that when I took over. It was at best a break-even situation. I forced a lot of contracts like Ultra to have to pay a heck of a lot more. Everybody there pays top dollar. And then I brought new contracts that are bringing a lot of monies to the trust. That's why I think this year the surplus should be somewhere in the $6 million range. Now, with those amounts, we could pay maybe as much as half, to take care of the Olympic Theater. And with the surplus that we have, in about 8 years or less, we should pay off whatever we need to do in the Olympia Theater. That doesn't mean that we can't work out a good management contract or other contracts that we would need to with the Olympia Theater. And I have no problem with the Matter Academy people, the SLAM, coming in. They run fine programs, and I trust their management. But here's a prime example of what Bayfront Park could do. And I will tell you that with a little more tweaking in ways that is not going to be harmful at all and it's not going to be bringing noise, that could bring in another $5-6 million a year in surplus dollars. So this is why we have to do this now, not later. We're going to be facing some real tough decisions. If we're going to be able to hire 100 more police officers, even 50, we're going to have to bite the bullet that many don't want to do here. If we're going to lower, we asked the manager in a resolution to come back and give us 25, 50, 100% reduction in property taxes for seniors 65 and other. Commissioner, I'm going to tell you, we're even going to be able to give them a 5% reduction. We got to find more money in different ways. And this is one of the ways that we could find dollars for this city so that we could keep the most important parts of the city. How in the world can we be talking about spending or possibly spending all this money in the Marine Stadium, and we can't even keep the jewel of our city, the Olympia Theater? I mean, any city in America would love to have a place like that. And I guarantee you, the administration in those cities wouldn't be talking about giving it away. But why are we here? Well, we're here because we weren't told that that needed all this work. There was no monies put aside each year, like I mentioned before, to do the work that we needed to do. And that's part of the problem that we have. So I'm in agreement with that, and this is why I think this should be tabled for the next meeting where we have a full commission.
Can I?
Chair?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
No, I was just going to make a motion to move forward with that with an effective date as amended to January 1st.
You won't be able to resolve the Olympic Theater stuff in the way that I proposed. And then what's going to happen is you're going to have a motion so that we do a contract that forever the Olympia Theater won't belong to the city of Miami.
Can I interject here? I think I've heard everybody.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. First question, and then don't get mad what I'm going to ask you, but you were there for 7 to 8 years. How come you think it's a good idea now, but you never proposed it when you were the
I did.
chairman?
As a matter of fact, I did, yes.
I didn't know that. When did you
Yes,
propose
it was proposed.
It was, when?
Yes, and you were against it in this commission, and so was he.
When? When was that?
That was proposed either in December or January of this
Oh,
year.
in January. No, that was proposed, my memory, if I recollect correctly, that was proposed when you knew that I was about to become chairman, okay, and I became, and then that's when you proposed that.
No, sir, that was
Commissioner.
proposed,
Yes,
and I
sir.
talked about that even
You
way
were there
before
for 7
that,
to 8
different
years.
times.
You were there for 7 to 8 years, and you never proposed it. Now you think it's a good idea.
I
I'm just-
disagree with
I'm
you,
just saying.
sir. Move on.
there's a motion on the floor. I think.
Hang on before the motion. Hang on before the motion because, so I've said that. Why, it's very suspicious to me. Why now? He had 7, 8 years to do it. He didn't do anything, but now seems like a good idea. But I heard what you said. I heard what you said. I'm going to take it like what you said. And this year, you proposed it in February of this year. Look, the Virginia Key Trust. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the history of it. In 2022, there were allegations of stuff not going on there correctly. Okay, and in 2022, the commissioners here, whoever they were, and I think you were here, Mr. Carollo, Commissioner, and others. I think you were not here. I was not here, and Rosado was certainly not here. What they did was they removed the whole board, but they didn't change the institution. They never removed the trust, and still to today, that trust is viable. What they did is they removed where they thought the problem lied, okay, but they kept the trust in the same makeup, the same structure as it is today. As a matter of fact, we just had a meeting on it. This is it right here, the Virginia Key Trust. Now, seems to me, okay, that if we're going to start worrying about trust, maybe we should also look at the Virginia Key Trust, if this is the way the city's going about. Okay. Second, let me just say this, okay? I've been chairman for about 4 months now, okay? And precisely what you're talking about, Commissioner Rosado, I was put in there to the rumblings that were going on there for 7 to 8 years while Commissioner Carollo was chairman, with all due respect. I believe his brother was chairman before that, and frankly, I think never had a problem, if I recall correctly. The problem was this gentleman. Now, that's his problem with them, and then I came into the picture, okay, to fix that problem. I've been trying to fix that problem, and understand, to me, it's not like I'm held on to that thing and you're going to have to pry my hands off of that thing. I will go graciously. I've already said that before, But I just think the way this is coming about, and the city manager we have talked, okay, and I believe, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Art. I believe that we talked candidly about this, and I think at this moment, we're not prepared, and we don't have a plan to take this entity into our own. Is that correct, or am I?
No, I mean, what we do with it now, I mean, I think the intent and the conversations I've had with Commissioner Rosado as well is to analyze potential other structures for the park from a governance leadership perspective. Right now, if this is abolished immediately, it would just roll into a parks program, but the existing staff would remain in place.
But would that be a good thing? Are you recommending that we do that with the Virginia Key Trust in the future too?
I don't know. The chair of the Virginia Key Trust is certainly not here. It'd be good to get her perspective on it because she's been managing that. And I have zero relationship with them at all. So I can't weigh in on the Virginia Key Trust, and certainly
I'll weigh in on it. There are two very, very different trusts. Virginia Key Beach Trust does not have the ability that the Bayfront Park Trust had to generate dollars. That's why the Bayfront Park Trust has some $20 million or so in reserves, and it should end up this year with around $6 million or so in a surplus. They're very distinct trusts that you can't compare them apples to apples, oranges to oranges. Period on that.
All right.
Now, you talked about...
Wait a minute. Don't hijack my conversation. I let you speak, and
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Take all the time you want, but then I will.
Yeah, of course. It is your right. So we have this that, Commissioner Rosado, you come in, and I've been appointed for 4 months, and now it's like a referendum on me. Tell me, Commissioner Rosado, no, but I got to know, because, out of the blue, you want to do this. What have you found? Okay, what have you found that, that's been going on in my tenure of 4 months versus 8 years? And then you got to ask yourself the question, if you're going to be honest about this, okay? Why now is the question. He had 7 or 8 years to do this, and when he does it when he knows he's about to be taken off as chairman, and then I go into the fold. This is what this is really about. But like I said, I feel if you're in my shoes, okay, that you're trying to right the ship, okay, I got nothing going on there. You know, as a matter of fact, it takes up my time, to be honest with you, okay? But I am a man that I do like to finish what I start, okay? Also, my executive director has been working long hours there, you know, and we just want to give him a chance, okay? But here's the thing, what I'm saying. I'm baffled. You know, I'm baffled, you know, because, look, when you're going to remove somebody, you know, like you are doing to me, because you are doing it to me, you know, you got to have a reason. It's like when you fire somebody, you know, you can't just fire somebody for wrongful, you know, you got to give me a reason why you're, and yeah, you said it because there's a political football, but that wasn't my political football. That political football was going on 7, 8 years while this gentleman, you know, had the park. That ain't my problem. That ain't my fault. You know what I mean? I was put in there for what you're talking about. That thing that you're talking about, the you know, the craziness going on, that wasn't me, my friend. Okay, I've been there for 4 months. He went through I don't know how many executive directors. His former chief of staff was the last director, and then they had a squabble, and now he's suing him. And by the way, furthermore, I contend he has a conflict of interest voting in this. Okay, he has a conflict of interest voting in this. Commissioner Carollo does. Okay, because he will derive a certain benefit. I just want to read this real quick. The trust dissolution, Carollo has a conflict voting for the trust dissolution because in the Suarez and Canto lawsuit, he is a co-defendant, and the trust can cross-claim against him and seek contribution and indemnity from him for any monies that the trust has to pay to the plaintiffs, Canto and Suarez. Suarez is his former chief of staff. As a result of Carollo's actions while chairman of the trust, if the trust is dissolved, it will lose the ability to recoup from Carollo any monies that it pays because of his acts or omissions. So a benefit when inure to Carollo if the trust is dissolved. Would the city of Miami sue Commissioner Carollo to recover those monies once it takes over the dissolved trust? So these are you know, little issues, you know what I mean, that I want to bring to the forefront because I feel here that I was appointed, you know, legally to that trust. By the way, you had, Commissioner Carollo, for the last 3 years, you haven't even been voted on. And let me tell you, when you wanted the chief of staff, your former chief of staff, Suarez, I voted for it the first time around because that's what you needed. That's what I gave you. When the gym equipment, the famous gym equipment, where you two were at odds with each other, okay, and then you talk about people not being here, this gentleman wasn't being here. And you went ahead and you took the advantage and you voted on the referendum, and that's how you got that done. And when the people spoke, I agreed with you. And I said you were right. You outwitted, you know. Wait a minute. Let me finish.
No, you know what?
You're going to have your chance.
You've spoken long enough.
No,
I'm going to address some of your things.
No, let me finish. You gotta let me. No, I have the floor right now.
You keep throwing more that I can't answer.
I have the floor. No, that's what you do.
Now let me answer, and then you can keep going.
Because I'm not done.
Yeah, well,
I'm not done.
You are done right now.
No, I'm not done right now.
You are done.
No, I'm not done. No, I'm not done.
Because you keep wanting to throw stuff, so I can't answer.
I'm not done.
You let me answer. And then you
no, sir. I have the floor, and you're going to let me talk. I'm as much of a commissioner as you are.
You're putting all kinds of baloney out here.
No, I'm speaking the truth.
It's totally not true.
No, that is
true. And I'm going to start answering one by one. Beginning with.
No, that's not what
the stuff that you're putting out.
Yeah, leave me
that
alone.
I have a conflict. I have no
Sir, again, I have the floor. I have the floor.
No legal conflict whatsoever.
Yes, legal.
And I'm chairing the meeting, and I said that I've given you enough time.
No, you haven't. No, you haven't. I have the floor. I have the floor.
Once I answer you,
I am as much a commissioner as you. I am as much of commissioner
as you. But I am the chair.
You can't shut me down.
These are the process that we have.
You're a chair that disrespects everybody else. You don't deserve it.
Can we make a motion for 5 more minutes? Can we make a motion to give Commissioner Gabella 5 more minutes and that's it?
I need to answer all kinds of wild, false allegations that this gentleman is throwing out here.
Please, leave me alone. Please.
Could we actually, I'd like to respectfully request that we allow the city attorney to chime in because there were some legal accusations, there were some legal opinions. I'm not sure exactly where they came from, but I'd like to hear from the attorney.
No accusations. Wait a minute.
Not wait a minute.
I mean, it sounded like a legal...
Let the city attorney answer that.
Yeah, it sounded like a legal opinion, but I wasn't sure the origin of it.
I can assure you the origin wasn't from my office. We were asked whether there was a voting conflict of interest under the Florida statutes for Vice Chairman Carollo to vote on this issue, and we determined that there was no conflict of interest. Any type of conflict that has been mentioned, in our view, is speculative at best. We looked at my State of Florida Commission on Ethics opinions. We looked at the Miami-Dade County Commission on Ethics opinions. And the Florida statute is pretty strong in that unless you have a personal pecuniary interest present, then you have a voting conflict. But while there may be some conflict or something like that, it doesn't rise to the level of allowing the vice chair to abstain from voting. So in our view, he has no conflict and he should vote on the item.
But George, wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
Can you let me finish? George, I believe you and him had a conversation?
Right.
And didn't you tell him that he was kind of right in what I just read? Or am I crazy here?
No, you're not crazy. What I told the
So it's either
your
right or wrong, George.
Well, what I
mean,
told your legal counsel was that our opinion stood. He raised an extra issue, and I said, maybe talk to the Bayfront Park Independent Counsel, but I do not see that based on our interpretation of Florida law and the Miami-Dade County Commission on Ethics, that there is a voting conflict under the statute.
Okay.
I mean, there's a motion on the floor. If you accept the amendment for January 1st, Commissioner Gabella, would that be?
And what exactly
It's
are we
abolished.
doing
As of
it's abolished. And do we know what vehicle we're going to abolish it to? Do we know? Because this is my...
January 1st, which would give enough time for the kind of planning and transition that I think the residents would appreciate, the community would appreciate, because even though there's a vision of, might be a really good structure, it could be conservancy, it could be...
Right, there's a few options. It allows us the time to socialize them in the public sphere and answer a lot of questions. But Commissioner Gabella, before we move on, it sounds like the question's going to be called. I did want to clarify something. So I first brought this, two things. One is I referenced in my remarks today, I'm bringing forth a number of reform items. I mean, I've brought up the police headquarters today. Certainly I'm inserting myself into the Olympia deal, which I think could be a much better deal, and a variety of other things I'm going to be bringing forth. The item with the school board today, I think, is also a reform of the way that we operate our parks and rec facilities and expand access to residents. So there's going to be a number of things that I bring that I think are different than the way the status quo is. But the other thing, I brought this up, wasn't my intention to bring this item up initially at my first meeting on the commission. It's something I've been thinking about because this agency, again, removing all personalities and names and players, it is historically sort of prone to having a number of very public challenges, and these meetings disrupt tremendously, and it keeps us from getting the people's work done because of the bickering that goes back and forth. So it's been very much on my radar for a long time. And as somebody who grew up in the city of Miami, it's an agency that I'm familiar with some of these things we read 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But I brought it up at my first meeting, which I didn't intend to do, in the context of being potentially assigned the DDA chairmanship. I did not want you to be somebody without a chairmanship, given that I had just gotten on the commission. Yes. So that is what prompted it. Had that not been moving forward at that time, I wouldn't have moved forward with the item. But I didn't want you to potentially lose this chairmanship and have no stake in the downtown community, which I know you clearly do care about. So we have always been willing to give the DDA chairmanship, even today, even now at this moment, to be clear. I'm the new person here. I don't need to be in charge of anything beyond being the commissioner for District 4. That's plenty. It's a lot of people. So I want to make that clear. So it's not about you. It was the fact that was introduced, and I didn't want you to somehow be the only individual without a chairmanship. So I want to be very clear about the timing.
So listen, I'll accept what you're saying, but as far as his determination, his motivation to do this, sir, has nothing to do with what you're talking about. With all due respect, has nothing whatsoever to do with that, because this would be like you entering now the chairmanship of the DD, the downtown development what we just spoke of, and then 4 months later, because somebody's got a grudge against you, now all of a sudden I'm questioning you whether. And like I said, what have I done in my tenure? What have we done? What have you got? Except that there's been rumbling going on. But what is failed to mention here, that those rumblings did not go on when I've been there. I've been there for 4 months, and that's got to be taken note of, because this is just the whole precipice, if you will, of where you started your conversation. That you're saying things are not going wrong, and I'm saying, yeah, my friend, but I was put there because things were not going wrong to right the ship, and that's what I'm doing. And now you're passing judgment on me like if I was part of that thing that wasn't going well. You know what I mean? And listen, if you guys want to dissolve it, that's fine with me. But all I've been saying, okay, again and again, that this has been done on the fast, okay? There was no, there hasn't been no thought process to this, okay? The ones that are really going to lose out, listen, Commissioner Gallo, if you get your way, congratulations. But listen, you know who really loses? The ones that are the losers are the residents, okay? Not me. I do what I do.
Here?
I bring him.
Yeah, you with him. Yeah.
I don't listen.
You with him.
But me, I don't.
There's this guy.
Can we call the question?
The first time that we started having this rumblings you're talking about was right after the election of both of you. Then Mr. Pardo started up. He then opened up a pact strictly to be constantly attacking me and sending messages out. And I can show that clearly. And you know I can. Because you didn't even hide it. So that's where the rumblings were. But you know what? What I did there, you can't deny it. And even though you might have some now that want to deny it, it's there for the record.
Deny what?
It's that what I've accomplished for that park, not the rumblings you're claiming.
Commissioner, I'm not claiming.
You
The other
came to fix the
people
problem. There was nothing to fix.
I
for
believe
you to
the
come.
question's been called. I'm going to second that. I'm going to second calling the question.
Okay.
Sorry.
So
There's a problem in calling the question. There's no second.
Yeah, there is.
So you're going to second
I'm
the
seconding
main motion
The motion to call the question.
as amended.
okay, I am going to go along with this, but here's the thing, what I want to say to you guys, okay? When January comes around, okay, let's have a plan, okay? Let's have a plan in place, okay? So this just is not done willy-nilly, okay? Yes, sir?
Let's not play any more games, guys. If what you want to do is keep the game that's going on now. The problem wasn't before.
You were the one
problem
playing
is
the game,
there
not
now.
me. I'm not playing no game, man.
If you guys want to keep that game, then keep it.
He's playing the game, man.
You know,
I'm not playing
spend
the game.
millions of dollars in trying to prove and defame and say that I took a penny out, which you'll never find. And I'm telling you again, you have any evidence that I took one penny of that or committed any criminal violation, let's go right to the FBI.
Well, if you would let me say that I have photos, and I told you before. And
you don't have crap.
Yes, we do.
You
Yes, we
denied
do.
here
We showed
again.
them here.
You denied
We
in a
showed-
meeting
we
that
showed
you
them
have an
here.
arrest record. Let me give you.
You're screaming.
Let me give
You're
you the case
screaming.
number.
You're screaming.
What, sir? You need to shut up
You're
so I can
screaming.
speak. I am the chair.
You're screaming.
Case number 77-020-14-IF 709690.
What is that?
Miguel Angel Cabela.
What is that?
That's your sealed police record.
Really?
You know exactly what it is.
Really?
Yeah. It's
Really?
in the internet, in the corrections department.
You know what I do
Yeah.
know? That you were
That's in the
arrested for hitting your
corrections
wife.
department.
You know what I do know? That
That's a
you were
sealed
arrested.
record. Is this you or not? Is this your sealed
Sir,
record or not?
To call the
this
question.
Is, more,
Is this your sealed record or not?
Wait,
move to
when
call
you
the
leave me
question.
alone,
Second the motion.
I think I'm a grown man, you know?
I think we need to head
Yeah.
Look, keep lying to the people.
The only one that lies to the people is you, sir. The only one
You have a
that's been
sealed
arrested.
record here that
The
you're
only one that's been
refusing
arrested is you,
to
sir.
acknowledge that
You've
you're
been
lying,
arrested
saying
for
that you
throwing
don't have
something at
one.
your wife. So don't talk. You got a glass ceiling. If I were you, I zip it. You're getting yourself
And in
into
the
more trouble.
meantime, the manager is protecting you so that over 2 months has gone by and you're the only person in the city of Miami that has open code violations that everyone has seen here, but the city of Miami.
No, the only
will
one
not
that's
send
seen it is you,
anyone to
and the
your
one that
home.
has open violations
They will
is
not
you.
send
And yours
anyone
reads
to
like
your
a
home.
CIA document. Yours reads like a CIA document where you covered everything up and probably illegal, and we're going to get to the bottom of
Here
that.
we
by the
go
way.
with the
Okay, we're going to get to the bottom of that.
Here
And I
we go
submitted
with the
proof that I have
CIA.
zero violations.
Guys, we have a motion on the floor.
I move to call the question. and
Second.
There was a second. We need to
We
take
need to vote.
Yes, let's take the vote.
Take a roll call, please.
Mr. City Clerk, can we
go
get
with,
some clarity on what the actual motion reads? Because I'm confused as to what we're actually voting on.
Frank, we
2026.
can't hear you on the record.
January 1st, 2026 is the motion, I believe, right? Your motion?
Right, it was amended
And-
as the date being January 1st.
Moves to dissolve the trust
Mr.
effective.
Clerk, can you begin with Commissioner Rosado forward?
Yes, sir. A motion to pass as amended SR3. Commissioner Rosado.
Yes.
Commissioner Gabello.
Yes.
Commissioner Pardo.
Yes.
Commissioner Croyo.
No.
The motion passes 3-1 with Commissioner Croyo voting no. As amended.
Okay, there's no further actions before this board. This meeting is now.
Wait, time out.
Meeting is adjourned.
Sir,
That-
I
I'm
had
sorry.
a shade meeting.
You
that I
have
did. I apologize.
a shade meeting.
Yes, sir. It's just a notice of a shade.
Go ahead, read the notice.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the Commission. Pursuant to the provisions of Section 286.011, parentheses 8 Florida statutes, I'm requesting that at the City Commission meeting of July 24, 2025, an attorney-client session closed to the public be held for purposes of discussing the pending litigation in the matter of Jorge M. Perez Art Museum of Miami-Dade County, Inc., DBA Perez Art Museum versus City of Miami, pending in the 11th Judicial Circuit in and for Miami-Dade County, to which the city is presently a party and has filed a counterclaim against George M. Perez Art Museum of Miami-Dade County, Inc., DBA Perez Art Museum. The subject of the meeting will be confined to settlement negotiations or strategy sessions related to litigation and procedures. The private meeting will begin at approximately 10 a.m. or soon thereafter as the Commissioner's schedules permit and conclude approximately 1 hour later. The session will be attended by the members of the City Commission, which include Chairwoman Christine King, Vice Chairman Joe Carollo, Commissioners Miguel Angel Gabella, Damian Pardo, and Rafael Rosado, the City Manager, Arthur Noriega V, City Attorney George K. Weishong III, Deputy City Attorney Kevin R. Jones, Deputy City Attorney Javi E. Alban, Assistant City Attorney Supervisor Eric Eves, Assistant City Attorney Maggie Snyder, and Nick Basco. A certified court reporter will be present to ensure that this session is fully transcribed, and the transcript will be made public upon the conclusion of the litigation. At the conclusion of the attorney-client session, the regular commission meeting will be reopened, and the person chairing the commission meeting will announce the termination of the attorney-client session. Thank you, Mr.
And
Vice
for the record, that is the litigation involving the PAM billboard with the city. So I know there's a lot of interest in the community on that, but just so it's on the record, that's when we'll be hearing it.
Right. There was a mediation, and they presented some information that we need to share with you, so we want to share that with you. Thank you.
Okay.
And then, Chair, just for the record, the following items shall be perfunctorily regarded as a deferred item and scheduled on the July 24, 2025 City Commission agenda, and that is SR2, FR2, FR3, DI1, and PZ1. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, this meeting is now adjourned.